Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. It's me, Paul Neal, as always. I'm here to bring you the top 10 youngsters I believe will break through in their first teams this season, the year 19/20. So, at number 10, Shay at West Bromwich Albion. His manager there is Slaven Bilic and was a fantastic centre half himself. You know, he's managed at some top level, national teams with Croatia, and then he managed at West Ham as well. Seems to do a really good job at West Ham. But he's at West Brom now, and I don't think there's a better person that he can learn off right now. Bilic seems to be a big fan of his. He's already played him in a few games in the League Cup. He's been on the bench a few times already for West Brom, and it seems as though the more the season goes on, I think the more game time he'll get. And I do think that at some point in the season, then he will actually make that breakthrough and maybe become a regular. I've watched him at under 21 level, and he's a fantastic centre back. Very dominant in the air, good with the ball at his feet as well. He's a good modern day centre back, and I believe he will break through this season. On to number 9, a former League of Ireland player, Jason Knight, formerly of Cabinteely, at Derby County now, and Philip Cocu seems to be a big fan of his. He's got his first championship start there a couple of weeks ago, and as well he's played in the League Cup as well as coming off the bench a few times for Derby. I do think Derby is a good club for him to develop. You look at players like Harry Wilson, who was there last year. I think Mason Mount was there as well. It's a club that give young players a chance, and I think, give him a couple of games and maybe the other side of January he might become a first team regular. Who knows? But Wayne Rooney goes there in January as well, so he's going to be learning off Philip Cocu and Wayne Rooney. So it's going to be a great chance for him to develop and learn off these top class, I suppose, world elite players who have played at the top level, played in World Cups, played in Euros, and so on, Champions League, etc., etc. So I do think Jason Knight's one to watch as well. He's obviously another Ireland under 21 player as well. That adds to the riches that we already have there. Number 8, then I have Michael Obafemi at Southampton. I know he's already played a few games between last year and this year. Never really broke into the first team as a regular as of yet. I do think if he gets a bit of game time, and can avoid injuries, I do think that he will then become a first team regular for Southampton. The manager seems to really like him there. I'm not going to attempt to say his surname, but his first name is Ralph. But I do think that he seems to really rate him. And I do think if he can stay fit, I think he'll get a chance to maybe break through into that first team. And which is obviously good news for Ireland if he does. I know he's called to the last under 21 squad, but he's played for the senior team already. So I think he's already fast-tracked his development at the moment anyway. And as Mick McCarthy say, we may laud Martin O'Neill for capping him that time. Number 7 then is Jonathon OSullivan at Celtic. Obviously Jonathon had a great under 19 Euros in Armenia. I think he was voted one of the players in the tournament, and really deserved his move to Celtic. I know he's going to be in the development squad for a little bit at least, just until he kind of finds his feet and maybe settles in. But I do think he has the ability to break into that first team. Maybe not as a regular, but I do think he could break into the squad for now, and then see, as I say, the other side of January, if he's still developing or whatever, he may get a chance to get in there and compete for that first team spot. So I do think that OSullivan is a great player as well. Obviously another Ireland under 21 player, and a lot of clubs were after him, and he ultimately chose Celtic. So fair play to him, and I hope he can keep up the good work. Then keeping things at Celtic, then at number 6 is Leo O'Connor, signed from Manchester United on deadline day. And I don't think he would have left Manchester United if he wasn't going to go somewhere where he thought he was going to get first team football. I do think whatever Damien Duff and Neil Lennon said to him to make him go, if it was them, there must have been some reason why they've both gone there. It's a great club, full of Irish history there, so it makes sense for them to go there. Now, it's going to be a chance for them to develop as well, but they need to get... I do think Leo O'Connor could break into that first team squad. I think I've watched him; he's so versatile. He can play left back, right back, midfield. I'm sure there's other positions he could play as well, but he's a fantastic player. And I do think, as I say, a lot of Manchester United fans were very unhappy to see him leave, because he's been a fantastic player right the way up. He's captain Ireland at underage level. Looked fantastic in that Euros as well. Ireland really missed him when he didn't play. He was suspended one of the games. I think Ireland went out from that game. Number 5, Brandon Kavanagh at Shamrock Rovers. And Brandon is a nice little number 10 player. Comes in, he's neat on the ball, very quick with his feet, picks up lovely pockets of space and has a real eye for a pass. He played as a number 10, obviously, in the Euros as well, the under-19 Euros. I thought he done very well, considering that was a position that I suppose other players like Troy Parrott and stuff like that were, I suppose, going to play. Brandon done himself absolutely no harm at all playing there. I thought he was very good, very effective. You know, asked to do a shift for large parts. He hasn't got into the Shamrock Rovers team this year as of yet, but he's come off the bench a fair few times. Steve Bally seems to be a huge fan of his. I know Kevin Kilban is actually a really big fan of his as well. I've watched him, I've seen him come off the bench, and I think he's a great player. I do think maybe not this season, the way the Irish season goes, but maybe start towards next season, depending on who Rovers have in their midfield. I do think he can break into the team and start making himself a regular, I suppose. He definitely has the ability to do it. I suppose it's up to him to fulfil that. Then on to number 4, Andy Lyons at Bohemians. Obviously another underage right back for Ireland. Derek Pender is the captain of Bohemians at the moment, but Andy Lyons is well capable, and he's shown that. You know, I do think Andy Lyons, again, like Brandon Kavanagh, next season pushing on for that right back position. I don't think he'll finish the season so far. There's not that many games left of this season, but the season will start back again soon enough. And I do think that if he can get in there, I think he could break into the first team as well. Fantastic player, and really looks like he's a really good future ahead, like Brandon Kavanagh. At number 3, it's Mark Travers at Bournemouth. Obviously, recently made his first team debut at the back end of last season for Bournemouth, and then just recently, only a week ago, was capped for his full international debut. Started the game against Bulgaria and done himself absolutely no harm as well. Seems to be a really good goalkeeper. Eddie Howe seems to be a really big fan of his. He played a couple of games last season. He's done well in pre-season and obviously got capped by Ireland. Be interested to see how that one plays out. I do think though he's well able to make that jump up, and he's well able to play at this level. So number 3, Mark Travers. At number 2 then, we have Troy Parrott at Spurs. I think he's just tipping on the edge of the Spurs team at the minute, and I think that if maybe Harry Kane or Son get injured, or maybe they both get injured, I do think this time Troy Parrott will actually get a chance. I do think before this season is over, I do think he'll get a fair few games, whether that's in cup competitions or Europe or in the league. I do think he'll start getting some performance, and I do think that he'll rise to the occasion, and hopefully he does, not to put too much pressure on him, but he seems to take it all in his stride, and it seems to be that case that nothing really phases him. So I do think Troy can make the jump in there, and if that is the case, and maybe Ireland are in a good spot for qualification, maybe he can get himself into the full national team. Who knows? That'll be one to watch. At number 1 then, Aaron Connolly at Brighton. He's made his first team debut against Man City a couple of weeks ago, came off the bench there against Burnley. Seems to be again another player that the manager seems to really like. Mick McCarthy's came out and spoke about him already and said how impressed he was with him, and if Ireland weren't in a position to qualify for the under-21 tournament, he would have called them up by now. So I think Aaron Connolly was voted Premier League 2 Player of the Year last season. You know, seems to have something about him, and if you watch any of the under-21 games, although he wasn't scoring goals, he was setting up a lot of goals, and looks to be a really, really good player with a good mentality, and seems to be a player that will play out of positions that will accommodate the team, even if he's not that happy about it. But Aaron would be my number 1 there to break through. I do think, you know, the more games he gets at first team level, I think the more he'll show. I think once he gets a goal, I think you'll start seeing him maybe getting in and around the first team, starting wise. Brighton don't really have that many strikers that, you know, stand out and make you go, oh wow. So I do think it's a good club for developing him, and I do think the other side of January he could break through. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. What would be your top 10 if you had one? And I know some players are maybe left out there that you're probably shouting at the screen going, oh, what about Nathan Collins and stuff. I feel like Nathan Collins has already broke through. He's already captain Stoke, so, you know, I didn't want to put him in because he's already broke through. Aaron Connolly hasn't really broken through just yet. He's kind of tipping on the scales, same as a few lads in the list. But let me know your thoughts anyway in the comments, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. as always. So thanks very much, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and if you didn't enjoy it, tell us why in the comments. If you're that one guy who puts a dislike on it, tell us why. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll speak to you soon. Okay.